Hey, what's up, guys? I wanted to weigh in on the situation that took place last night at the MTV Awards with Eminem and Sasha Baron Cohen. I didn't watch the MTV Awards last night. I can't tell you the last time I watched those awards. I think they're the most juvenile thing on TV. You know, every year something stupid happens and they try to upstage it the next year. And this is what exactly took place last night. You know, Eminem was sitting in the audience and Sasha Baron Cohen, he comes down from the rafters and he sticks his ass in Eminem's face. You know, and this was supposed to be extremely funny or something. You know, it's juvenile and stupid. You know, and you know the way I found out about this whole situation, because as I said, I don't watch these awards, is because people on Twitter were talking about it, and I finally looked it up on YouTube to see what took place, and I found it silly. You know, I'm watching the video and it's like not funny. I'm not laughing, and there's no type of emotions. Like, I don't know how to feel about it. And I'm looking at the comments on, you know, that people are leaving all over the place, and they're like, Eminem shouldn't have stormed out of the awards after that took place because he talks about people in his records, and you know he disrespects people all the time. So why doesn't he take what he dishes out or something like that? It's like, it's a silly comparison. It's an extremely silly comparison. Talking about somebody in a record, making fun of them, is not the same as Sasha Baron Cohen coming down from the rafters in a award ceremony and assaulting you. You know, it is assault. That's what it is. You know, people don't see it like that, but it is assault. You know, it was very stupid, and MTV obviously planned it that way because they wanted to get ratings or whatever. And you know, it just shows the level of bullshit that's on TV today. You know, all the reality shows that MTV puts out, bullshit. VH1, bullshit. You know, and this is just an extension of that bullshit. And a lot of the people leaving comments about this situation saying that, you know, Eminem wasn't a good sport and it serves him right and all that bullshit. They don't understand. They can't realize that Eminem is not really in his right mind. You know, look at it. Look at all his interviews ever since he's making his comeback. Alright? If you want to call it that, because I don't really see it as a comeback. But look at all his interviews. The guy never smiles anymore. He never smiles. He never, like, you can see that he's always like not happy, always tense, I should say. There's something wrong with the guy mentally. You know, I'm not trying to say that he's crazy, but there's something wrong mentally. Something is disturbing him, and people don't realize that. It's only until, like, look at Britney Spears, right? You can see that she was going out of control. You know, way before she shaved her hair off and all that shit. You saw that she was heading on that path. And nobody was saying nothing. Everybody was just urging it on, like, oh, that's funny, that's entertainment. You know, nobody is going out there and trying to help this girl. And I see this is the same situation with Eminem. Right now, they claim that he's like back on track after his drug addiction and all, his alcohol addiction and all that. But I see this guy, something is going to happen in the future. Like in the near future, something is going to trip him off. Because that situation that took place at the awards, he didn't even like swing at Sasha Baron Cohen. He didn't do anything. He was like, oh, this can't be fucking happening. You know, that's all he said or whatever. I forgot exactly the words he said, but he was like, oh, this can't be fucking happening. And he just left it there, and his boys came across and started punching Sasha Baron Cohen. You know, he didn't do anything. He was like, you know, fuck it, whatever, and he just walked out of there. And that's the, like, look at that attitude, right? It's like, I don't give a fuck at the moment, but he's just gonna fucking snap at one time, and I see it coming. He's just gonna fucking snap. And MTV, who put this together, they are seeing this, right? They're seeing all his interviews being done. They probably speak to the guy personally because he's at the awards. They know his level of mentality. They know where he's at right now mentally, and this is what they're gonna try to pull off. And then people are laughing it up and supporting this bullshit. You know, there's a time to joke, and then there's a time to be serious. And I think right now is a time to be serious in regards to Eminem. You know, listen to the lyrics on the guy's last album. This is some tough shit. You know, and before, like, you listening to like his first album and it's like some dark shit he's saying, it's like, whoa, you know, this is some dark shit. But then you know, like, he's talking shit. You know, he comes on in interviews and he's like, oh, I'm just being an ass. and you could see that he was just being an ass. But listen to the shit in his last album and look at his interviews, and it's like, this shit is really happening. You know, this is the mindset that he's in. At the end of the day, though, I really think that this whole thing was planned, and I wouldn't be surprised if Eminem was part of the planning of this whole situation. You know, there's still a chance that, you know, that he planned this out or whatever. You know, it's part of, he just made an album. You know, this is what rap artists do. They need to have something big happen when they make an album. You know, they have to have something newsworthy, something stupid, and I wouldn't be surprised if this was part of the act. But as I said, looking at this guy's interviews, especially that interview he did on Jimmy Kimmel, the guy is not smiling. He's not responding like he normally does. He's a different person. You know, you just observe the way he's moving. Anyway, that's my whole observation on the situation. This is my time. This is Dream Reborn.